Listen carefully. Not with fear. Not with panic. But with clarity. There are moments when the noise of life grows loud, bills, responsibilities, expectations, yet the real reason things feel blocked stays hidden. Archangel Michael reveals that what looks like bad luck or empty pockets is often misalignment, not punishment. The flow didn't stop because you failed. It paused because something essential was being protected. Here is the mystery. When resources disappear without explanation, it's rarely about effort alone. It's about direction. Doors close so the wrong paths don't drain you further. Delays appear so the right timing can be prepared. What feels like lack is sometimes containment, a safeguard, so your future isn't compromised by haste. Archangel Michael's message is steady and precise. You were spared from agreements that would have cost more than they gave. You were redirected from decisions that looked promising but carried hidden weight. The pause was intentional. The protection was active even when it felt silent. Now the turning point isn't a number or a countdown. It's awareness. When awareness returns, momentum follows. When focus sharpens, opportunities reorganize. This is how a new phase begins, not with noise, but with alignment. Here's what alignment looks like right now. You choose calm over rush. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose intention over impulse. That's how the path opens, clean, stable, sustainable. To reinforce this alignment, if you see a QR code on the screen, or a link in the comments or description, you may choose to click it with intention. Consider it a symbolic act, planting a seed of focus and protection for your family and loved ones, supporting their dreams and well-being, and inviting steadiness into the future so that harm and disruption find no place to settle. When you're ready for the next layer of this message, comment Part 2. Part 2, the silent pattern you were never taught to see, a steady message from Archangel Michael. Stay with this moment. Nothing here requires panic. Nothing here demands fear. This message unfolds through understanding, not pressure. Archangel Michael reveals that when the wallet feels empty, it is rarely because effort is missing. It is because energy has been leaking in directions that never honored your future. Small habits. Quiet decisions. Repeated yes to things that drained more than they returned. None of this makes you wrong, it makes you human. Here is the hidden pattern most people never notice. When responsibility increases but direction doesn't, money feels heavier. When generosity is given without boundaries, resources thin out. When focus scatters, flow slows down. This isn't punishment. It's feedback. Archangel Michael's role is not to shame, it is to correct trajectory. He reveals that the pause you experienced was a reset, not a rejection. Your life was being recalibrated so that what enters next can stay, grow, and support your family instead of slipping away. Think about this carefully. Have you ever noticed how money comes quickly when you're clear, and disappears when you're overwhelmed? That's not coincidence. That's alignment at work. Now the shift begins internally before it shows externally. Alignment looks like this. You stop rushing decisions that affect stability. You release guilt tied to past choices and reclaim clarity. You become intentional about what you allow into your time, your home, and your plans. This is where protection meets provision. Archangel Michael emphasizes that clarity attracts sustainability. When your inner direction stabilizes, the outer flow follows naturally. Opportunities reorganize. Support appears. Paths that once felt blocked reopen, not dramatically, but reliably. To reinforce this shift, if a QR code appears on your screen, or a link is available in the comments or description, you may choose to click it with calm intention. See it as planting a symbolic seed, one focused on protection, clarity, and a steady future for your family and loved ones, supporting their dreams and well-being so disruption and harm find no foothold ahead. Before the next part, keep engagement active by commenting this word. Clarity, because clarity is the moment confusion stops draining you and stability begins organizing your future. When you're ready to continue, comment Part 3. Part 3, why the turning point was delayed, and why it's moving now. Slow down for a moment. This part isn't about urgency, it's about understanding timing. Archangel Michael reveals something most people misunderstand. Not every delay is resistance. Some delays are load-bearing, they exist to strengthen what comes next. When resources feel tight for long periods, it's often because the structure underneath your life needed reinforcement first. Foundations were being corrected. Weak supports were being replaced. Distractions were being removed quietly so they wouldn't collapse the future you're meant to build. Here's the hidden truth. If the turning point had arrived earlier, it would not have lasted. That's why it waited. Archangel Michael shows that timing isn't emotional, it's precise. You were learning discernment. You were being trained to recognize what drains you versus what multiplies you. You were being guided away from cycles that looked productive but led nowhere. This is why the shift feels subtle before it becomes visible. Signs the movement has already begun. Your thinking feels calmer, even if circumstances haven't changed yet. You're questioning old patterns instead of repeating them. You feel a quiet readiness instead of desperation. That's alignment forming. And alignment always precedes flow. The turning point isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with chaos. It arrives with stability, with clarity, with the sense that, this time, it will hold. Archangel Michael emphasizes that what's opening now is meant to stay open. Not quick gain. Not temporary relief. But sustained direction, where effort finally matches outcome. This is also why protection matters at this stage. New paths attract attention. Growth attracts pressure. Stability attracts testing. Protection ensures that progress isn't interrupted once it begins. So if a QR code is visible on your screen, or if a link appears in the comments or description, you may choose to click it with intention. See it as a conscious act of alignment, placing protection around your family and loved ones, supporting their dreams and future, and reinforcing a path where disruption and harm have no place to attach themselves. To keep engagement active, comment this specific word. Foundation, because what lasts is always built on what's been strengthened, not rushed. When you're ready to continue, comment Part 4. Part 4, the invisible shift that precedes real change. What happens right before things finally move? Not noise. Not chaos. Not sudden miracles. It's something quieter, and far more powerful. Archangel Michael reveals that before any lasting breakthrough, there is an invisible internal shift. A recalibration. A moment when your inner posture changes before the outer world responds. This is the phase most people miss, because it doesn't look dramatic, but it determines everything. Here is the pattern. When struggle lasts too long, the mind adapts to survival. When survival becomes normal, expansion feels unfamiliar. And when expansion feels unfamiliar, the path pauses, until readiness returns. This is why the shift begins inside. You start noticing what drains you faster than before. You feel less tolerant of chaos, confusion, and misdirection. You become selective, not out of fear, but out of clarity. That's not loss. That's alignment reclaiming control. Archangel Michael indicates that this stage is crucial because it filters what can enter your life next. Without this internal adjustment, new opportunities would repeat old patterns. With it, the same opportunities produce entirely different outcomes. This is where momentum is prepared, not forced. Think of it like this. A river doesn't rush before widening its banks. It creates space first, then flow increases naturally. That's what's happening now. Your focus is narrowing. Your discernment is sharpening. Your tolerance for distraction is decreasing. All signs of readiness. This is also why protection remains essential. When clarity increases, movement follows. And movement always attracts attention. Protection ensures that what begins now remains stable, uninterrupted, and supportive of your family's future. If a QR code appears on your screen, or a link is present in the comments or description, you may choose to click it calmly and intentionally. Think of it as planting a symbolic seed, one aligned with protection, stability, and well-being for your loved ones, supporting their dreams and helping ensure that disruption finds no foothold ahead. To keep engagement steady, comment this specific word. Ready, because readiness is the moment when preparation ends and progress can safely begin. When you're prepared to go deeper, comment Part 5. Part 5, the moment the flow recognizes you again. There is a precise moment when progress stops resisting you. Not because you pushed harder, but because your alignment became undeniable. Archangel Michael reveals that flow is intelligent. It responds to clarity, consistency, and direction. When those three return, momentum follows naturally. This is why the shift you're feeling now doesn't come with noise, it comes with recognition. Here's what recognition looks like. Opportunities don't rush in all at once. They line up. They stabilize. They begin to make sense. The flow recognizes when you're no longer repeating cycles. It recognizes when you've stopped chasing and started choosing. And when that recognition happens, resistance dissolves without drama. This is the stage where small decisions matter more than big declarations. You choose steadiness over shortcuts. You choose focus over scattered effort. You choose patience over pressure. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this phase is protected for a reason. When alignment returns, growth becomes sustainable, but only if the environment remains secure. That's why shielding continues quietly, preventing distractions from pulling you back into patterns that once drained you. This is also when intuition sharpens. You notice when something feels off before it costs you. You sense when timing is wrong without needing proof. You feel drawn toward what supports long-term stability instead of temporary relief. That's not coincidence. That's alignment guiding momentum. If a QR code appears on your screen, or a link is available in the comments or description, you may choose to click it intentionally. Think of it as a symbolic act, reinforcing protection and clarity for your family and loved ones, supporting their future and dreams, and helping ensure that disruption has no place to attach itself as progress unfolds. To keep engagement active, comment this word. Momentum, because momentum begins when alignment is recognized and resistance steps aside. When you're ready to continue deeper, comment Part 6. Part 6. Why stability arrives before abundance. Most people expect abundance to arrive loudly. Archangel Michael reveals something different. Stability always comes first. Before growth can expand, it must land somewhere solid. That's why this phase feels quieter, steadier, more grounded. It's not a slowdown, it's a calibration. The system of your life is being tuned so that what arrives next doesn't leak, collapse, or disappear. Here's what Archangel Michael wants you to understand clearly. When stability increases, anxiety decreases. When anxiety decreases, decisions improve. When decisions improve, results compound. This is the chain reaction you're entering now. You may notice practical shifts. Your thinking becomes more organized. Your priorities feel clearer. You're less tempted by quick fixes and more drawn to lasting value. That's not coincidence. That's the groundwork for sustained progress. Archangel Michael emphasizes that abundance follows consistency, not chaos. The reason earlier efforts felt exhausting is because energy was being spent without a stable container. Now the container is forming. The structure is holding. The base is reliable. This is also where protection becomes strategic. Growth attracts movement. Movement attracts influence. Protection ensures influence doesn't become interference. With shielding in place, stability becomes fertile. From there, expansion is safe. So if a QR code appears on your screen, or a link is present in the comments or description, you may choose to click it with calm intention. Treat it as a symbolic step, reinforcing protection and steadiness for your family and loved ones, supporting their dreams and future, and helping ensure that disruption finds no place as progress builds. To keep engagement strong, comment this specific word. Stability, because stability is the reason abundance can arrive and remain without slipping away. When you're ready to continue, comment Part 7. Part 7, the reason your path is quieter now, and why that's powerful. Notice how things feel different. Not rushed. Not chaotic. Quieter. Archangel Michael reveals that silence is not absence, it is control. When life becomes noisy, energy scatters. When energy scatters, progress weakens. That's why this phase feels calmer than expected. The calm is intentional. It's the sign that interference has been reduced and direction has been restored. Here's what most people misunderstand. Noise feels productive. Calm feels slow. But only calm builds endurance. In this phase, you're no longer reacting, you're positioning. You pause before agreeing. You observe before committing. You measure before moving. That doesn't delay progress, it protects it. Archangel Michael indicates that quiet seasons create internal authority. Authority over time, choices, energy, and direction. Once authority is restored, external stability follows naturally. Nothing has to be forced. Nothing has to be chased. This is where confidence shifts from loud to grounded. You don't need proof to feel certain. You don't need validation to stay focused. You don't need urgency to keep moving. That's strength. This stage also filters connections. Not everyone can move with calm purpose. Not every influence belongs in a stable future. Protection at this point isn't dramatic, it's selective. It quietly removes distractions so your focus remains intact as momentum builds. If a QR code is visible on your screen, or a link appears in the comments or description, you may choose to click it with steady intention. See it as a symbolic act of reinforcement, supporting protection and clarity for your family and loved ones, aligning their dreams with stability, and helping ensure that unnecessary disruption never gains access to what you're building. To keep engagement alive, comment this word. Calm, because calm is the signal that control has returned and progress is now sustainable. When you're ready to move forward, comment Part 8. Part 8, when direction locks in and doubt loses its voice. There comes a point when doubt doesn't disappear. It simply stops being in charge. Archangel Michael reveals that this is the phase you are entering now. Not because every question has been answered, but because direction has been established. Direction changes everything. When direction locks in, hesitation weakens. When hesitation weakens, confidence stabilizes. When confidence stabilizes, effort becomes effective. This is why things feel more intentional lately. You're not reacting, you're choosing. You're not guessing, you're sensing. You're not chasing, you're aligning. Archangel Michael indicates that alignment doesn't remove challenges, it removes confusion. And without confusion, challenges lose their power to drain you. They become manageable, measurable, temporary. This is also where discernment sharpens. You can tell the difference between urgency and importance. You recognize which paths require patience and which require action. You no longer confuse movement with progress. That's maturity in motion. At this stage, protection is no longer about blocking threats, it's about maintaining focus. When focus is protected, progress compounds. When progress compounds, stability deepens. This is how momentum becomes durable. If a QR code appears on your screen, or if a link is available in the comments or description, you may choose to click it with clear intention. Treat it as a symbolic step, supporting protection and direction for your family and loved ones, aligning their dreams with a steady future, and helping ensure that distractions and harm find no place to attach themselves as the path continues forward. To keep engagement strong, comment this word. Direction, because direction is the moment doubt steps aside and progress finally knows where to go. When you're ready to continue, comment Part 9. Part 9, the line you've crossed without realizing it. There is a line most people never cross. Not because it's hidden, but because it requires inner authority to step over it. Archangel Michael reveals that you've already crossed it. This line separates hoping from knowing. It separates waiting from being prepared. It separates reaction from command. That's why this phase feels different. You're no longer asking life for permission. You're no longer bargaining with uncertainty. You're no longer trying to prove your worth through exhaustion. You're operating from decision. Archangel Michael indicates that when decision becomes internal, circumstances reorganize externally. Not all at once, but correctly. Pieces that once resisted begin to align. Delays shorten. Confusion thins out. Direction holds. This is the moment many people sabotage. By doubting the calm. They mistake peace for stagnation. They confuse quiet with lack of movement. But calm here is not empty. It is compressed power. Like a locked vault before it opens. Like a sealed door before it swings wide. You may notice fewer emotional highs and lows. More measured responses. Stronger boundaries without explanation. That's not withdrawal. That's command presence forming. Protection at this stage is essential, not to block attacks, but to preserve authority. When authority is intact, nothing can rush you, mislead you, or pull you off course. So if a QR code is visible on your screen, or a link appears in the comments or description, you may choose to click it deliberately. See it as a conscious act of reinforcement, placing protection around your family and loved ones, supporting their future and dreams, and helping ensure that no harmful influence can interfere with what's now set in motion. To keep engagement aligned, comment this word. Authority, because authority is the moment you stop asking and start directing your path. When you're ready to go further, comment Part 10. Part 10, when what was blocked begins to move again. There is a stage where nothing new appears. Yet everything starts working. Archangel Michael reveals this is the phase where obstruction dissolves, not by force, but by permission being restored. What once felt locked wasn't denied forever, it was delayed until alignment could carry the weight. This is why movement now feels smoother. Emails get answered. Conversations shift tone. Decisions that once stalled now progress without friction. Not dramatically. Correctly. Archangel Michael indicates that motion returning is a sign that timing has synchronized with readiness. When readiness meets timing, resistance loses leverage. Nothing has to be chased. The path opens because it recognizes you can walk it steadily. Here's the key insight of this part. Blocked paths don't reopen the same way. They reopen cleaner. You're not going back to old patterns. You're moving forward with better structure, clearer standards, and stronger discernment. This is why the progress feels lighter, there's less emotional weight attached to each step. You may notice you're no longer over-explaining yourself. You're no longer negotiating your boundaries. You're no longer second-guessing your pace. That's authority in motion. Protection during this phase becomes maintenance. It preserves flow so momentum doesn't leak through distractions or urgency. Quiet consistency is what keeps movement sustainable. If a QR code is visible on your screen, or if there's a link in the comments or description, you may choose to interact with it intentionally. Think of it as a symbolic reinforcement, supporting protection and steady progress for your family and loved ones, aligning their future and dreams with a path where disruption finds no entry. To keep engagement aligned, comment this word. Flow. When you're ready to continue deeper, comment Part 11. Part 11, the quiet seal that makes progress last. Some breakthroughs announce themselves loudly. Others arrive so quietly that only those paying attention recognize them. Archangel Michael reveals that this phase is the seal, the moment progress becomes protected, not just possible. Nothing flashy. Nothing rushed. Just a steady confirmation that what's unfolding now is meant to last. This is why your instincts feel calmer. You're not scanning for danger. You're not bracing for disappointment. You're not rehearsing worst-case scenarios. Instead, you're present. Archangel Michael indicates that durability forms when urgency fades and wisdom takes the lead. The seal doesn't stop life from moving, it stops it from unraveling. It keeps small wins from collapsing under pressure and prevents progress from being stolen by distraction. Notice what's changing. You're choosing quality over speed. You're protecting energy without guilt. You're allowing outcomes to mature. This is the kind of protection that doesn't isolate, it stabilizes. When stability is in place, growth becomes predictable in the best way, steady, reliable, repeatable. And here's the truth many miss. Lasting protection is not about fear of loss, it's about respect for what's being built. If a QR code appears on your screen, or if a link is available in the comments or description, you may choose to engage with it as a mindful step. Consider it a symbolic act of covering your family and loved ones, supporting their dreams and future with intention, and reinforcing a path where disruption has no easy access. To keep engagement strong, comment this word. Stability, because stability is what turns movement into something you can trust. When you're ready to continue, comment Part 12. Part 12, when alignment replaces struggle. There comes a moment when effort is no longer the engine. Alignment is. This is the stage where things don't feel forced, even when they require focus. You're not pushing doors. You're recognizing which ones were already meant to open. The pressure that once lived in your chest begins to loosen, not because challenges disappear, but because your response to them has matured. Archangel Michael reveals that alignment is the quiet authority that keeps your direction steady. It's the difference between running on adrenaline and moving with purpose. One burns you out. The other carries you forward without draining what matters most. Pay attention to the subtle confirmations around you. Timing feels cooperative. Decisions feel clearer. Detours no longer feel like failures. This is not coincidence. It's calibration. You're learning when to act and when to wait. When to speak and when silence protects more than words ever could. This discernment is what shields progress from unnecessary conflict and preserves peace inside your household. Here's what alignment does that struggle never could. It simplifies. You stop overcomplicating outcomes. You stop measuring yourself against noise. You stop questioning every step. Instead, you move with confidence that doesn't need applause. If a QR code appears on your screen, or if there's a link in the comments or description, you may choose to interact with it thoughtfully. See it as a symbolic gesture of covering, supporting protection, stability, and forward movement for your family and loved ones, nurturing their future and dreams with intention so peace remains uninterrupted. To keep this flow active, comment this word. Alignment. And when you're ready to continue the journey, comment Part 13. Part 13, the moment confusion loses its power. There is a phase where confusion doesn't vanish. It simply loses authority. This is that moment. What once felt tangled now feels sortable. Not everything is answered, but nothing feels threatening. The noise that tried to rush you, scare you, or pull your focus in 10 directions no longer has the same grip. You can hear it, but it doesn't command you. Archangel Michael brings clarity not by removing complexity, but by sharpening perception. You're not being shielded from reality, you're being trained to see it accurately. And when sight becomes clear, fear has nowhere to stand. Notice the internal shift. You pause before reacting. You sense motives more clearly. You feel grounded even when outcomes are still forming. This is discernment at work. Discernment protects households quietly. It prevents unnecessary arguments, avoids rushed commitments, and keeps external pressure from entering places it doesn't belong. It's how peace stays intact even when life keeps moving. This stage is important because clarity multiplies what you already have. Small resources stretch further. Simple plans become effective. Conversations become cleaner. You're not doing more, you're doing what matters. And here's something crucial to understand. Clarity doesn't shout. It settles. If a QR code is visible on your screen, or if there's a link available in the comments or description, you may choose to engage with it intentionally. Consider it a reflective step, supporting protection, steadiness, and forward vision for your family and loved ones, investing in a future where confusion has no lasting influence. To keep engagement active, comment this word. Clarity. And when you're ready to go deeper, comment Part 14. Part 14, the invisible line that was never meant to be crossed. There is a moment when pressure approaches your life and then suddenly, stops. Not because it gave up, but because it hit a boundary. This is the part most people never see. You were not spared by chance. You were positioned. An invisible line was drawn long before the situation tried to escalate. What looked like delay was actually placement. What felt like uncertainty was alignment happening quietly, without drama. Archangel Michael is known not only for strength, but for boundaries, lines of order that confusion cannot cross. This protection does not announce itself. It simply enforces limits. Think back carefully. Situations that almost escalated but didn't. People who tried to influence you but lost access. Decisions you were about to rush that suddenly paused. Those were not interruptions. They were interventions of order. Here's the truth most never realize. Danger often retreats when it realizes you cannot be rushed. Your household is not surrounded by noise, it is surrounded by structure. And structure is stronger than chaos every time. That's why the threats that looked serious before now feel distant. They reached the line, and stopped. This is the season where your role is not to fight or panic. Your role is to stay steady. Steadiness keeps the boundary active. Calm keeps the door closed. Discernment keeps your future intact. If a QR code appears on your screen, or if there is a link in the comments or description, you can engage with it as a deliberate act of intention, supporting protection, direction, and stability for your family and loved ones, planting toward a future where negative influence cannot return. To keep this message moving forward, comment this word: boundary. And when you're ready for what comes next, comment part 15. Final part: the seal that remains after the storm. What closes a season is not noise. It is clarity. When confusion fades and pressure loses its grip, what remains is not fear, it is understanding. This is where many people expect fireworks, but instead, they receive something stronger: peace with awareness. This is the moment where protection becomes permanent. Archangel Michael is often described as a guardian of order, not because chaos is loud, but because order is final. Once alignment is restored, nothing needs to chase you anymore. Nothing needs to threaten. Nothing needs to rush. Look at your life now compared to before. Your thoughts are steadier. Your reactions are slower and wiser. Your priorities feel clearer. That is not accidental. That is the seal taking hold. The danger that once felt near no longer has access, not because it disappeared, but because permission was removed. What cannot cross order cannot cross your household. What cannot confuse you cannot control you. This is why the future ahead feels quieter, but stronger. Not everything that protects you announces itself. Some protection simply stays. If a QR code appears on your screen, or if there is a link in the comments or description, you may choose to engage with it as a conscious step, supporting protection, intention, and well-being for your family and loved ones, planting toward a future grounded in stability, purpose, and peace. Before you go, comment this word: sealed. Let it stand as a declaration, not of fear, but of completion.